This call is being recorded.
Good morning, all. B.L. Carter here, hoping that you are doing well. I'm working on the pieces to your puzzle, one step at a time. I wanted today to just really quickly bring something to light, not necessarily giving the answers one way or the other, but raise a question, one that we all should think about, and maybe offer some ideas or suggestions. I don't know that there's necessarily a right or wrong, but the question is more so to make each one of us think, evaluate where we are and how we're handling it. The question that was asked of me was, why do we give more dignity to the dead than the living? And I had to ponder that for a minute. Wow. Why do we honor the dead more than we honor the living? And then what my immediate thought was there was that song. There's probably a phrase as well. Give me my flowers while I yet live. Don't wait until I passed away to load my casket with a bunch of flowers. Give me my flowers now where I can see them, I can touch them, I can smell them. And so in essence, that's what this person was asking me. Why do we wait until someone passes to give them all these flowers instead of giving them to them while they're here? So as I pondered that, I realized that there's a continuum, if you will, of dignity that we give out, with the deceased people getting the most, the living people getting the next most, and then the living dead getting the least. And so let's think about the living person, that living person that I just mentioned. That's a person who is, depending on who they are, they get supported, they get loved, they get adored, they are lauded in every way, depending on who they are. So if you're the president, if you're, someone up in one of those echelons of society, you're getting all of that. Not necessarily out of genuine feelings, because some of it could just be out of duty, some of it could be out of fear that you don't get put on their shit list. But again, I'm a Main Street kind of person, so let's talk about the regular living person that works every day, that takes care of their kids, that does the laundry, no maids in the home, they do everything all on their own. The Joe Schmoes and the Sally Sues of the world. Most of them get crap, especially if they're melanated, and that's kind of who this is focused for. Melanated people, the regular living, everyday Joe Schmo melanated guy is going to get all kinds of crap thrown at him in life. From social, he can't walk down the street without being accused of being a thug. Don't let him mess around and have on a hoodie. Oh, he's definitely a thug. He can't drive down the road. BMW used to be the car. I don't know what it is. I think it's a Tesla now is the car to have, whatever it is. Even if he's driving a brand new Chevy Chevelle, which I don't even think I know they don't make anymore. Brand spanking new, hot off the assembly line Chevy Chevelle. The police are going to pull him over and harass him just by mere fact of his color, and that's it. He doesn't get dignity to be able to drive down the road, free passage with no problem when he's committed no crime, no traffic violations. Why? If you're melanated and you're among that living category, you get crap economically. We know that. That's in our purchasing, and though we don't manage our purchasing power well, the purchases that we do make, we get crappy products put in our neighborhoods in the stores, the ones that either failed inspection or were at the lower end of the inspection. And if we happen to get something that's a top of the line product, the price is skyrocketed in our neighborhoods. Our food, access to food in our neighborhoods, we get the crappy food. It's all at a grocery store. It was harvested. It was stored somewhere for 3 or 4 months in a freezer and then sent to a grocery store. We don't have fresh vegetable stands anymore. We don't have ways to get fresh and decent food. Where's the last fish market you've seen? I mean, real fish market, not some frozen fish in the grocery store. but I mean a fishmonger that you go to and you see his fresh fish that he went down to the harbor or the port or wherever it comes in and picked it up that morning and brought it in a crate full of ice and laid it on display in that little dispenser on ice. And you get to pick the fish you want, tell them how you want it boned, tails off, heads off, scaled, or whole, or whatever the case may be. We don't have those anymore. Some neighborhoods still have them where they can get access to fresh stuff. We don't. In work, and that's something we've been talking about. We get the crappier jobs, the lower pay out of the jobs. If we get a better job, and I've not discussed our preparation for them, but assuming everyone is well prepared, everyone I'm talking about regarding work is well prepared as far as the education and the background, the experience to hold these jobs. We get a better paying job. We get, or I'll use in my case as an engineer with a particular government agency. I was the one with the most experience on the systems that they were running, the one with the most education background, the most experience overall in the field, scored higher on the assessment tests and his written test, oral test background and experience tests and all that, scored higher. But a white female was brought in under me when I had seniority over her. White female was brought in under me and paid more. I was assigned to manage the entire state for one division and 2/3 of the state for the other division. We had two divisions. She was tasked with handling 1/3 of the state for one section of a division. That's it. Now she has experience in the field, very little experience in the actual systems that we were running. Actually, we were a Windows shop. More of her experience was on the Novell side, Novell NetWare, and for those of you who know IT, you know how far back that goes. Her experience was on the Novell side. While I had Novell experience, the company I was with migrated over to Windows much sooner, so I had more Windows background. She didn't have the same education as me, et cetera, et cetera. She didn't score anywhere near I did on the testing. But she was brought in under me, given maybe 1/4 of the level of work, but paid more. This is the dignity that's given to us living people, especially the melanated. That's what I'm talking about. We don't laud me at all. It's as if we get little respect as people. You can see it in just a daily disregard for others, for us, and we do it to ourselves as well. Just a disregard for life. We shoot each other down in the street. Police shoot us too, but we shoot each other down in the street. We don't laud or applaud or appraise or acknowledge our people when they're living, when they're just doing the day-to-day stuff. What happens to the category of living dead? Because I said there were 3 categories in my continuum: the dead, the living, and the living dead. Let's talk about the living dead. Living dead are those people who are walking around here every day. Some of them are barely getting to work and function, and some of them are not even working anymore. They might be crackheads. They might be derelicts on the street. They might be, they're having diagnosed with whatever mental issues and drugged up all the time. I consider those the living dead. People who are living life, but they're really dead inside. And so their death it could have been from life choices. It could have been a result of prolonged lack of dignity and respect given while they were actually living and eventually took a toll on them. It could be they may have died from the systemic mechanisms that are in place that perpetuate a state of living dead. But bottom line, we discount them. We give them even less dignity and respect than we give the living people struggling day to day. We enable them sometimes just enough to live. If it's a crackhead, you're going to give her $5 for a hit. Or you might use her services so she can get her hit. But if there are others who cannot benefit you in some sort of way, if you can't use her services, if you can't get him to pick a lock for you and hit him up $5 here and there, or if he's not selling you some gateway computer for $50 when you know it costs $500 in a store, if you have no benefit, then you flat out ignore them. So the living dead is flat ignored. If they're the derelicts on the street, we walk by and we act like we don't see them. We see the signs, and sometimes it's, they're scams or whatever, but we just ignore them. And then if it's someone who is a living dead person who is working, they're just barely making it. They're still physically alive, but their insides are dead, just from, like I said, from life choices or something that's been put on them, systemic mechanisms in place, whatever it is, they are among the living dead. In our own families, we just flat ignore them. So they're getting less dignity and less respect now that they've reached a point of living dead. No one starts out living dead. Everyone starts out living. Life, choices, experiences, things take them to a point of living dead, period. But we discount all of that, and we just, what we do is we throw them away. We give up on them. But then what happens? They die. So the crackhead cousin who you were using, giving her $5 hits for services or different little things, or the drug dealing uncle that, you were buying his $50 gateway computers and getting your electronics at cheap prices, or getting your DVDs or whatever the case may be, they die. And what do? You find all kinds of money to donate for a $10,000 funeral service. You help buy a brand new dress to lay them up in, or a suit, or whatever it is. You help buy flowers. All the honor and accolades you can give them once they're dead, physically dead. Why didn't you do any of that when they were still living? Do you think it would have made a difference? Do you think it probably could have turned some things around for them? Possibly. They're dead, and you're sitting there, you're speaking highly of them. Everyone wants to run up to the microphone. Oh, cousin so-and-so, he was a great guy. People didn't particularly like him, but he was a great guy. He always stood for what's right. He always spoke his mind. But did you tell him that when he was living? Whether he was living or living dead, did you tell him that when he was still physically breathing, walking the earth? No, you didn't. You waited till he died to tell him that. And then he's everything. And then you want to pull out the stop shoe, skip your mortgage payment, putting money on a casket. But you did not do any of those things for him when he was walking the earth. Then we do what? We dignify the deceased people's soul to where we won't tolerate anyone speaking ill of them at all. Let's just be real. What happens when if your grandmother was the meanest woman on earth and you know it, but now that she's gone, we can't speak ill of the dead. If someone makes some sort of negative statement, you're ready to fight. Jump in their stuff all over the place because they said something negative about your grandmama. But you know she was a terror and a half. You want to, when they're dead, you will make trips. We will make trips across country to go see their gravesite periodically, bring them fresh flowers and whatever the case may be, and talk to them and try to get advice from them or whatever it is we're doing while we're sitting at these cemeteries. So we're giving them all of this honor, all this empower, if you will, because, we've given them the power to assist us by sitting at their gravesite talking to them. We're honoring them, we're lauding them, we're dignifying them, we're appreciating them, we're putting them on a pedestal now that they're deceased. But how much of us or how much of that could they have benefited from when they were living, whether they were living or living dead? Because if they were living dead and we gave them half of that dignity and half of that honor and half of that respect and support, it could have taken them from living dead to living. And if they were in the living category and we gave them half of that, it could have taken them into a point of, to a level of really living. I mean, living the life, living the best life. So think about that. And that's just something I wanted to put out there for us. Let's think about, why do we wait until a person dies to dignify them or to honor them? And for the ones who are still living, why do we have a different level of dignity and honor and respect for those who are living? Whether they're living their best life, whether they're just barely living, or whether they're walking amongst the living dead. Just some thoughts to put out there. Like I said, I don't have any answers one way or the other, because everyone's situation is different, everyone's story is different, the concept is the same, but you will apply the information in different ways. And that's what this podcast is meant to do, to catapult you, to stir you, to get your brain to thinking about how you're doing things. And if you could be doing things differently, and with a hope that any changes that you make will be beneficial to you, the people around you, the people in your circle, the people that are interacting with your children. That being the case, be blessed and continue to work your puzzle one piece at a time.